All right, some breaking news on this Friday night. Multiple outlets, including the AP and the New York Times, now reporting the president intends to address the nation about Syria tonight in just about 9 minutes from now, 9 o'clock. There are assumptions, of course, that this will involve strikes on Syria, strikes that have been discussed and debated in the White House, strikes which the president himself promised and taunted about on Twitter. Joining me now are Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California, Nayyera, former senior advisor and spokesperson for the State Department under President Obama, and MSNBC military analyst Col Jack Jacobs. And Col Jack, let me start with you. What do you foresee?
Well, they waited a long time to make some kind of announcement that they're going to conduct strikes. The last time in April when the strikes were conducted, it was shortly after the gas attacks. And when you wait a long time, and what you're after is punishment, the longer the distance is between the crime and the punishment, the less impact it really has. But the White House has been trying to get support for this among allies, and the Emir of Qatar was in town recently to talk about it. I don't think that the president wants to do it alone, would really like to have, I mean, his military advisors would really like to have some support. But at the end of the day, he promised an attack, and he's going to have to deliver. So he's probably going to say that he's going to attack, and not that he's going to wait some more and decide later.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee, you were the lone vote in the House against the authorization of use of military force, which, of course, has been used to justify American military action in about 9, 10 countries. What is your position on strikes on Syria on the Assad side of the equation?
Yeah, first, Chris, this is very dangerous. I suspect they're going to use, if they strike, the 2001 authorization that I voted against, because it was a blank check. And any president has used this blank check, all presidents have since then, to use force and to conduct military operations. But I tell you, this president, if he's going to conduct a military strike, should come to Congress. We should debate the costs and consequences of it, and we should have a vote. In no way should he conduct this, because this certainly would be an illegal strike, and it would be very dangerous and tragic if this happens.
Nayyera, the U.S. has been involved on multiple sides of this conflict for years. It has armed and trained some of the rebels. It has also relentlessly bombed Syria in part of the ISIS campaign. It has killed many civilians in that campaign as well. It has also struck Assad, of course, the president ordering those strikes last year. It has tangled with Russian mercenaries. What do you say to people that think this is an absolute mess that the U.S. cannot possibly make better?
Well, you can accuse the Obama administration of overthinking the engagement in Syria, and the problem now we have with Donald Trump is there seems to be no thinking about what the goal is in Syria. If you bomb Assad any further, who are you doing it for? There is no negotiation process in which different parties are coming to the table. There is no discussion about what happens if Assad goes. Really, all we have is Iran and Russia engaged every single day in support of the Iran regime, Assad regime. We have Israel also targeting strikes there in Syria. And you have the United States, as of last week, saying that the fight against ISIS is over. That is the technical reason the United States has been engaged there, is to defeat ISIS. When Donald Trump said that was over, he gave a full signal to Assad that he could unleash chemical weapons on whoever he wanted with impunity in his own country. So now we have a problem. What is the goal of the United States? Will we hear that from the president tonight? Is it punitive? Is it humanitarian? Is it because we want to be playing a long game in the Middle East? We do not understand what the purpose would be behind any attacks at this point.
All right, we are now have confirmed word the president will be speaking tonight at 9. He'll be addressing the nation in a brief address. We expect it to be about 5 minutes. Col Jack, obviously there are many U.S. service members in Syria right now and in Iraq as well, and close to the border. What are your concerns about blowback?
Well, of course, Assad doesn't need any excuse to go after our people. We have relatively few people there. They've been there a long time, and they can be withdrawn fairly quickly. The question earlier about what the objective is a very important one. You should always start at the end and work backwards. Any attack that the United States unleashes on Syria right now will only be punitive. There's no way that we can change the course of the war. There's no doubt about the fact that that Syria, that Damascus has won. The chemical attack that took place was on pretty much the last bastion of rebel-held territory near Damascus, and they gave up right away. So any attack that we unleash will only be punitive, and there's no way that we're going to be able to denigrate his capability. I think a lot of time we've left enough time so that the Russians can move their aircraft to safe areas and so on. So it's only a punitive attack, and I'm not very much concerned about American safety there.
Briefly, Congresswoman, will there be opposition to this in Congress on both sides of the aisle?
There'll be opposition on both sides of the aisle. I led a letter, a bipartisan letter of over 100 members asking for the Speaker to bring forth an authorization to use force. It was bipartisan, over 100 members. There will be opposition. And I have to just say, there's no military solution or option to what has taken place. The president bombed last year Syria. We're there again. It's really very tragic.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Nayyera Hawk, and Col Jack Jacobs, thank you. That is all for this evening. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Good evening.